Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to Virobus.
And I'm Alan.
Alan, always want to remind our viewers, check the text below for resources and further information, how-to videos on anything we talk about. But last time we talked about money, but we intentionally didn't talk about grants because people always want to know, where do I get a grant?
Sure.
Tell me more about that.
Well, like I said, it is the most often requested and the least obtained. And so what I tell people when it comes to grants is you need to understand what you're dealing with to begin with. I went to one of the professors at the local university that gets more grants than anyone else. And I asked him, this was several years ago, and I said, tell me, what's the secret to your success? How come you get so many grants? And he said, well, first of all, Alan, he said, we do research to find what grants are out there, and we look at those, and we look at ourselves, and we try to see what closely matches. That's the fit. And he said, of those, we apply, we get turned down the first year, we find out why we got turned down, we turn around, and of those that we get turned down for, we look at the second year to see, do we still closely fit? And of the reasons why we got turned down, can we alter that, change our approach again, and is it factual? We reapply. We reapply the second year, we get turned down the second year. We do the same process. Somewhere between the third and the fourth year, we will generally get the grant accepted. And so I asked him, I said, well, in that case, then how many grants are you actually getting? What's the percentage of all those you apply for? And it really boils down to about 10 to 15% if you add it up. I ran into him about 6 months ago after not seeing him for several years. And we were talking, we were at the library, and he said, oh, by the way, he said, you remember the biology field station? I said, yeah. He said, we got it funded. And I said, you did? That's fantastic. He left and I went, 4 years.
4 years.
Right on line.
But Alan, that's a university. They have people to do research and do all that work. That's not a great option for the businessman, the entrepreneur that's trying to get started.
And that's what's important is, number one, listen to what he said. He said, I go out and I look at what's out there that's available. That's the same thing anyone else should do. Now, does that mean that no one can get one? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that the vast majority of the grants are going to go to nonprofits. So we need to know that. Number two, if you closely match, you ought to apply. You got to realize that what is a grant? A grant is someone focused. It's just like the lighting here. If I could take a flashlight and I highlighted this section, and if you're going to be part of this section, then I got an opportunity for you. If you're not over here, if you're over there, then you don't qualify. That's okay. But if you want to try, come to this area. I'm highlighting it. So if in that position you're applying for something, you're going to be in what? Tough competition for a limited supply. We go to the bank and we apply, less the last couple of years that we've had. Under normal circumstances, you go to a bank to apply for a loan for a car or for a house, you're going to get the money. I mean, obviously you've got to qualify, but the money's there. But so if all of us applied at the bank, we would, and we all qualified, we would get it. But if we all apply for the grant, who's going to get it? One. Exactly. So it's a limited supply and it's tough competition.
So understand your return on investment, the investment of time and energy, especially time,
right,
may not be very high.
Exactly. That brings up something that I've told others. Whenever it comes to applying for any loan or money, in any case, there's three things that are going to happen to you. And a grant is a perfect example. First of all, they're going to ding, in most cases, if they ask for to be able to pull your credit, and they're almost always going to, they're going to ding your credit. Most people aren't aware of this, but that ding will cost you between 3 and 30 points. That's a serious ding.
Just to apply.
Just to apply. Yeah. The second it's going to cost you is your time, the amount of time for your application, their application of your information. And number three, and I think this is the most critical one, is it's going to ding your self-esteem. Most of us already have family and friends telling us, what are you, crazy? Yeah. And on top of that, now you get a professional.
My family says that a lot.
Oh, exactly. But what they're going to do now is they're going to get a professional, and the professional is going to say, you don't qualify. Yeah. And you're going to think, well, now I've heard it from Steve, I've heard it from Bob and Uncle Tom, now that I'm getting it from the professional, I'm done. And they're ready to quit.
Yeah. So, are there resources available for grants that you might talk about in
Yes,
general?
there are. Yes, there are. Just like you said, what we talked about a while ago when I talked to the professor. We've got several places that will show them some places they can start research.
And those are going to be in a link in the text below this video.
Yes, and don't forget, we talked about this earlier, check out your local SBDC office. They won't help you with the grant. That's not what they're about. But they do have resources of information if they're beyond what we have. And so there are other places they can check for the possibility of the
At
grant.
least a good place to get started.
Exactly.
Okay. Hey, thanks, and we'll see you next time on Virobus.